Sit. Sit.
There's a tail in front of the camera.
Good Nola, you can't be there. Sit. Sit. Okay.
They're gonna be looking at you the whole time now.
Merry Christmas, right? Holy cow.
Merry Christmas.
But today's still Christmas.
I know, so exciting.
What a great season this has been, right? Amazing. I hope you all had an amazing holiday season too. Goodness. And here we are. What is this? Our third episode?
Third episode of Atomic Habits. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we are enjoying Whiskey Wars from High Banks Distillery in Columbus, Ohio. So delicious. I actually, you're kind of double fisting it here.
I'm a lush. It has actually really great, so this is barrel proof, so it is a little stronger, guys. A little, I mean, lots stronger. It has a great Kentucky hug.
From Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah. From Columbus, Ohio. That's so funny.
Right. But
what would be the correct way of saying that? Anyways,
it's got a great Buckeye hug.
Yeah, there you go. And actually, the viscosity on the on their whiskeys is really great.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's just the aroma. I mean, right away when you get it, I get like a maple vanilla, just a very nice honey sweetness to it. It's really, really good.
So delicious.
It's so delicious, and it's perfect. Perfect for this time of year.
It is, right? Yeah. And we finally in Florida have cooled down just a tiny bit.
Yeah.
It's probably because the sun set, but
yeah. But enough for us Floridians to bring out the Christmas PJs.
The Christmas PJs, so we can be cozy for our podcast tonight.
Yes. And so this drink, go ahead.
Yeah, it's an old fashioned, and love the story, you know, and the history that Danny gave us. Thank you. That the reason why kind of the idea of a cocktail and infusing sugars and fruits into liquors originated during the Prohibition era, because liquors were made in secret spirits were made in secret and so quickly that they were actually not palatable, right? Because the care and the time that went into aging it and everything like that just wasn't there. They didn't make it quickly, transport it, and so that's where they would use sugars, fruits, bitters, and things like that. So this is a nod to a Prohibition era cocktail, and I think it's just so perfect for Christmas.
I already snuck a little sip. It's so good.
It is really good. Danny, thank you for making this. And what a great book to kind of wrap up the year with. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. Just catch for in case somebody's just popping in for the first time, the book you chose.
Oh, the book we chose was Atomic Habits by James Clear. One of the reasons why I decided to go with this book to wrap up the year is that we all kind of reflect on what we've done for the year, where we want to go for next year. And the great thing about Atomic Habits is it's really taking an inward look on yourself and identifying some of the habits you currently have and ones that you want to change. And then it really kind of dives into the science. You love the
science of it. Yes, yeah. Absolutely.
It dives into the science of why you think the way you do, why you act the way you do, and why you form the habits you have currently, and what you can now do to kind of reverse engineer or implement new ones in your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So he launches the book with the idea of 4 laws, right? And those laws are to make it obvious, to make it attractive, to make it easy, and then to make it satisfying. And last week, right before your trip, we spent some time on making it obvious, right? Yes. And that was awesome.
It was. It was one of those things of make it obvious that what it is that you're doing, right? What was some of the examples?
Yeah, making lists of everything you do, and then choosing to rank it. You know, and we acknowledge that somebody like. I remember the bagel thing, right? For somebody wanting to bulk up, having a bagel every morning for breakfast is a positive habit. But for somebody saying, you know what, I would like to try to lose weight, sometimes
no
cutting
bagels,
carbs,
no,
you know.
No bagels.
Right, no bagels.
No bagels if you want to lose weight.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, you know, stacking those habits, right? So if you know that you always get a cup of coffee, but you also want to do something else, then put that other thing right beside your coffee maker. Or if you know you want to read more, then lay a book on your pillow right before you go to, you know, when you get up in the morning. So when you go to lay down, right. So stacking those habits and just putting it out there, making it really obvious of the thing that you want to improve in your life, or taking it away, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's funny. I forgot to mention on the last podcast, but one of the things I did with my kids is, you know, I don't know if you guys go through this or not, or had gone through it with the kids, but you like to get clothes, fold them up, and put them in drawers, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't know, the drawers seem to be a black hole because, you know, it gets in the drawer, but yet they keep wearing the same stuff over and over again, right? So that's so true. So I was tired of it, you know, seeing the same stuff over and over again. So what I ended up doing was getting all their clothes, putting them on hangers, and throwing them in the closet, because if it's obvious,
it's hanging in the closet instead of down in drawers.
Exactly, so you can see it, you can pick it out, and actually that worked out a lot better. And now they're rotating through their clothes a lot better because it's obvious, they can see it. Yeah. And their habits form now that, you know, the only thing that goes in drawers are underwear and socks.
So smart. I did that because a lot of time, for a while, when one place that Kevin and I were living, I didn't want to turn on the closet light necessarily and wake him because we had opposite schedules with having the kids. So I had to get everything out of drawers because I didn't want to be rummaging or have to turn the light on to find it. So I hung everything so it would be easier to figure out. Yes, but
you're so considerate.
My goodness. So this week we're digging into making it attractive.
Yes, making it attractive is important.
And what I love is that he starts with kind of animal, like what's just natural in a habit for animals. Like he talked about those little like seagull things and how the babies were like pre-programmed since birth that when the parents come back, there's a red beak, a red dot on the parent's beak, and the babies peck at that beak and then they get food. Yeah. And so some scientists had made a fake beak and put a red dot on it, and the babies were going after
instinctual.
It's instinct. That's the right word. And then these geese. Right? The geese that are like, if they see a round white object outside of the nest, they go and get it and bring it back into the nest.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It could have been a softball, a volleyball.
I think he said volleyball.
Yeah, it didn't matter. They would get these birds that are nesting, and then they would just go and say, okay, let's put a round object. Because the idea is, the geese, you know, they're on the nest, and sometimes, you know, their big butts squash a little egg outside the nest, and so the mom has to come and
go back and get it.
Come back and get the egg. Well, some scientists, you know, it probably wasn't a scientist. I'm thinking about it, but she was just some kid, like, oh, hey, look.
Okay, it was definitely behavioral scientist. Yes,
and they went and they said, okay, let's experiment with some other round stuff. So they would get, you know, as large as a volleyball, I think was one of them.
Yeah,
right?
that's what he said.
Volleyball.
The goose was struggling to sit on top of the volleyball in her nest.
Because it didn't matter what it was white and round.
It was her instinct to do that.
And her instinct was to bring it back to the nest.
And so we as humans have innate instincts too. Yeah. Right? And it's really getting to know those. And that's like, we were programmed, even if, you know, as hunter and gatherers, we needed to eat, right? And then there would be times of plenty and times of scarcity. Yeah. Right? So our bodies came then, as we figured out farming and cultivating, to begin to crave, I guess, like acids, salts, fats, sugars, and things like that. Sugars. Of course. Well, but build up high caloric items so that when you're in a time of famine, your body had storage, right? So we're pre-wired for this, right? But then now we don't have cycles really of feast or famine. I can respect
we have
that.
Feast. I've been eating for
about 2 months now. And holiday fudge. And for those from Columbus, Ohio, holiday Buckeyes. Exactly. Those little chocolate peanut butter things are amazing. But yes, it just talks about how now today even the food industry works on perfecting these snacks for us, right? Like the French fry, it has to have the perfect outside where it's golden and crispy,
salty.
Yes. And then Oreos, they have to have the right crunch on the outside and then that creamy inside. Yeah. Right? Exactly. So, and that gets us addicted.
Yep.
It's really crazy. Because, you know, there we go. We try to eat a salad. And I think even James said in his book, after your 17th bite of kale, are you really craving it anymore?
I don't think I ever craved kale to begin with.
It's actually really good.
It is great, but I never crave it.
You never crave it, yeah.
But you know what? With this book, maybe I'll do some tricks in here to get myself to start craving kale.
So I've done cleanses before, just on different, wanting to be healthy or just wanting to just detox for a month or so. So I've done like these 30-day cleanses. And at least for me, and I remember Kevin experiencing it too, really after you hit 2 weeks of eliminating processed food, the cravings for those things start to subside.
Yeah.
I mean, there are times where sometimes I think we eat as a stress relief, right?
Oh, yeah.
Or we want to eat as part of a celebration.
Yeah.
But
socially,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, he digs into this in this chapter, but once you like detox, and that can be so hard, those first 2 weeks can be brutal when you're used to something delicious and then you're taking that away, especially salty things, fatty things, sugary things.
Yeah, all the good stuff.
So yes, I'm glad I'm not doing a detox this December.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Meanwhile, I smell what's over in the kitchen. I can't wait.
But it's a reward system, though. You know, when you go and you eat these little things, think about the joy. I don't know if you guys go through it, but you know, you're about to get some French fries. You have like a little tinge of, get some French fries.
Cookies, those cookies.
Cookies.
I never even crave cookies during the year, but there's something about a plate of cookies at Christmas, or like when people come over with cookies, and I'm like, oh.
Because it's Christmas cookies.
It's fun, I think. But James also goes on to describe how we crave other things, right? We crave acceptance, and I think that's why social media is such a dangerous rabbit hole for us.
Yeah.
Right? We like go on, and maybe we post a picture of something we've done, and somebody in our family might be like, "Oh, that's a pretty picture of you,"
yeah.
Or they may not even say anything, but then you put it on social media, and you get like 100 likes.
Well, it's the acceptance. It's like it's. We were talking about Simon Sinek. We were talking about the feeling of belong.
Yeah,
right?
You want to
so
belong.
As humans, we want to feel
accepted,
and you know that we belong to something.
Totally.
And so, yes, Chloe, talking about social media, you know, you put a picture of yourself up there. You're looking for that acceptance.
Yeah.
You're looking for that belonging.
And a lot of times we don't necessarily get the same rush. When we, like, somebody at work might say, oh, great job on that presentation, but we put something on social media and it gets hearts and shared and everything like that, right? So that's a whole nother spike for us, if you will.
The spike to the dopamine.
The dopamine, which I love that he gets into on this. That was interesting.
It feeds your scientific.
It does. It balances my woo and my science. I feel well-rounded.
Yeah, he talks about the rats. He talks about the rats. That part is funny because it's not the first time I've heard it. He talks about it, but it's not the first time I heard it. There was a lab experiment done where oh, there goes the girls. Anyway, we're back. So we're talking about the rats.
Yes.
So the great thing, well, not the great thing. Let me rephrase that. I've heard about the rat experiment before. What happened with the rat experiment is they gave it a drug. They gave these rats a drug.
Like a blocker of dopamine.
Yeah.
But it was some inhibitor.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the medicine was an inhibitor to block the dopamine. And so what ended up happening, you know, dopamine is that mood enhancer that makes you feel good, happy, you know, all that other stuff. And so when you block it, now you're miserable, you're depressed. So what ended up happening? The rats stopped eating, drinking, caring. They didn't want to have sex. They didn't want to do anything that pleases them at all. And they just started dying off. Well, what ended up happening is these scientists said, hey, let's go ahead and give them some sugar water and see what happens.
I'm jealous.
Guess what happens? Guess what happens? The rats just with sugar water, now they want to have sex, they want to eat, they want to drink, they want to live. And it's so funny. It was just with sugar. Yeah, it's just a sugar water.
It's so interesting how, I think, how did James word it? He said that with the dopamine blocked, they didn't crave anything, but they still enjoyed the sugar water. like when they had it. That, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But they had to literally, like, not be forced it, but it had to be like given.
Oh, that's right. They had to give
because they didn't crave it.
Yeah,
they didn't crave it because the dopamine was gone. But once they had it, they still enjoyed it. So I think that is so interesting because that, you know, then he goes on to explain kind of the curve of what happens with dopamine. And the first time you experience something that you love, there's your dopamine spike.
Yep.
The second time, or maybe the third, when the dopamine spike comes when you anticipate the crave. I thought that chart was so amazing.
Yeah.
What was amazing with this chart is, yes, so the first time, you know, you experience something amazing, poof, your dopamine spikes. But then within the second or third time, your dopamine spikes with the anticipation. So you get the cue. Either maybe you see the packaging or you know something's going to happen and your dopamine spikes. Yeah. And then what begins to happen over time is it's the anticipation of something. Yeah. And it's interesting. I used to work in the wedding industry, and I had a friend who had she was a photographer, and she had such an interesting concept as she photographed people's, like, engagement photos and then the actual wedding. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes she would be called back for the baby photos. You know what I mean? She built a relationship with her clients. But she's like, there's just such a buildup for the wedding itself. Like, you almost ride this high and you put this emphasis on what you think is going to happen. Yeah. And you're riding this high and you feel a certain way because of all the dopamine, and then reality of it sometimes can be very different and interesting. What James talks about that I really like is, okay, so you want to create a new habit, then take something that you want and talky tails and stack your reward with it. So if you know that you want to do better at being thankful for what you have in your life, but you know you always are going to have a cup of coffee, then he says, you know, create a game plan for yourself. Because remember in the last chapter you talked about the people who actually committed to when they were going to work out were more likely to do it. So, okay, every time I have a cup of coffee, I'm going to write down something that I'm grateful for. Yeah. So, coffee, I want my coffee, and I'm going to write what I'm grateful for. And then, once I write what I'm grateful for, then the reward. What is it, something I want to do every day? You know, if you're addicted to watching the news or something like that, right? So he talks about stacking it, right? And that's so helpful because that infuses things into your routine that you're already doing, but it will add in those better habits. Yeah. Right? Agreed. Right? Yeah. So, goodness, yes, habits. Oh, this was so interesting.
This one, I like this one. We're going to go cook out. She does a great job, so I'm going to let her continue.
So I love how he wraps up this section, and he really digs into what I can kind of consider like your tribe affects your vibe, basically.
Exactly.
Right?
Cheers to that. Cheers to that. Thank you for being my tribe.
Oh, you have such a good vibe. So, I love this study.
This is not going to be
so dangerous.
I feel like 2 podcasts ago. I'm going to have to time out and get another one, guys.
Well, I mean. So, I love the study with the man who really felt that it's not necessarily an innate gift, right? It can be things that you are great at can be something that's learned and taught. So this man found a woman who was willing to let their children kind of be test subjects in a way, in a very positive way. They decided to raise their children in a home where chess was played all the time. There were pictures of great chess players. There were chess books. There were multiple chess sets. And what consequently happened is their first child was amazing at chess. The second caught up to that, like in half the time. Yeah. And then the third was like, the youngest? I guess they call him Grandmaster. I thought that was, I didn't know there were Grandmasters of chess, but
I don't know either.
Apparently there are, but yeah, this was like a
Prodigy. They considered her
a prodigy
for chess, but the strategic thinking.
Exactly. So she was surrounded by, and I guess at one point she was playing it in the middle of the night in the bathroom, and even her dad was like, "Just go to bed, leave the chessboard alone." And she goes, "The chessboard won't leave, or the chess pieces won't leave me alone," or something like that. It was so cute. But if you apply yourself to something, can you become amazing at it? I guess is.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it too was just coming down to normalizing it. They made it a normal thing in their house that chess playing was normal.
Yep. Something you do.
Just something you do was part of their everyday routine, and it wasn't forced upon. I did research them a little bit. It wasn't forced upon. It was more of a, yes, it was behavioral. It was what do you call behavioral change? No, conditioning, right? But they actually made it where the behavior was acceptable. It was okay. They were rewarded for it. And so that way it normalized it.
So that's interesting. I love that you research them further, right? But it doesn't take, I think how we raise our children and I think you and I have been very similar in empowering our children and believing in them.
Yeah.
Right? And not teaching them stories that hold them back.
And hold them back. You want to go for it, but also positioning them as well. Every effort. I mean, you always heard about, good schools, whatever, but it's also just trying to position them into a point where they're surrounding themselves by, and that's what the whole thing of surround yourself with what you want to be, and is that the same? Guys, I'm like foreign, so.
What's interesting? I love that you brought up schools because Kevin and I, our journey in life, when we first had the boys, we weren't in the most fluid liquid funds position, okay? We had to live extremely frugally. And we had very, very good friends who, amazing people, and they had a lot more liquid funds, right? And so this dear friend of mine and I were actually due at the exact same time with our children. And, she had her son, I had Ethan, and I remember venting to Kevin. I was so worried because when she and I would get together, even just talking and planning, she was looking at amazing preschools where he would get early education. And that just wasn't in the cards for us. There was no way, because these amazing schools were thousands of dollars, and that just wasn't where we could be. So I told Kev that I was so worried, and when they were born, of course, I thank goodness for the help of my mom, and my husband and I both just really put an emphasis on making everything a fun learning, right? Everything was a chance to learn. And I love it when my mom would come to visit the boys. She even almost made little school with them. So they were learning at a young age to read and all, and they were given them that time, but it was happening at home. It wasn't in a fancy school. And fast forward now, 16, 17 years later, the three boys are all great friends. They are all equally doing well in school. And we have so much to be proud of, all three of our boys, even though they had different experiences with their initial, that fundamental stage. So it's true. I think what we give our children at such a young age can be so influential. It doesn't have to come from an institution, but if it does, that's great.
Well, it's very much like the chess player, right? Yep. The chess player, they normalized chess playing in their home. It wasn't normalized at school, it was normalized in their home. And us as a family unit, we are the biggest influences in our children's lives. So by you taking the step to saying, well, put it like this, your friend was able to be in a position where her child was able to go to an influential school, okay? You might not have had the resources, but you had the will and the knowledge. And so that's the whole part about this. What I really like is, what he's talking about is normalizing your influences. So if your children, and we refer back to children, but it can also be about us. You have the decision to say, hey, I don't want to be where I'm currently at. Let me surround myself with nothing but successful people, or let me surround myself with nothing but artists, or electricians, or whatever it is your craft is. Surround yourself with the people that you want to be, and you'll see that everything kind of rubs off. You know, now it's not a matter of I'm only basing myself on things that I don't want to be. You're basing yourself on things that you want to be. I'm sorry, my husband's making hand gestures over there. It's making me giggle. I'm trying to keep a cool face.
I wonder when Ethan came down the stairs, we were able to see him. So anyways, so what I really like, I just totally lost my notes, but that's okay because I remember. He wraps up this chapter kind of digging into the 3 ways that we really get influenced by our tribe, right? He talks about being influenced by the close, which we just dug into for that whole conversation, our family, right?
Yeah.
And the people we choose to call our family. Sarah, I love that you made that reference. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Sarah. Hi, Sean.
The family that our friends are the family we choose, right?
Yeah. Your chosen family.
Your chosen family, exactly. Yeah. So who do you choose to surround yourself with? And then it, goes to talking, to your tribe in general.
Yeah.
And then he talks about we sometimes are influenced by those that are powerful and successful, right? Because we're watching these people that are like, maybe they're crazy rich and successful, or maybe they're big influencers and they're famous and everything like that. We are, as humans, influenced by that.
Yeah, and I know a lot of it too. This is off the book, but a lot of people like to go and say, oh, well, you're only seeing one side of them, the side that they want you to see. That's all I need. Because for me, I just need inspiration. If I see what's possible, then that's all I need in order to be able to know what I want to achieve. Doesn't mean I'm trying to look for it all the time. However, I am looking for that, and I know it's out there, and I know it's possible, and that's why I decided to go for it.
Okay. Absolutely. And I like that he really points out that when you surround yourself with those that will uphold your ultimate goal, and he even went so far and bold as to say, if there's something you want to accomplish, you might need to reach out to a different tribe.
Yeah.
He talked about the workout club in New York City that basically it was a workout for nerds or something like that. Nerds working out. It was something like that.
I don't remember that part.
Doggy tails. The girls are on parade. He referenced the fact that this gym had put together a place for people who were interested, who were nerds and everything like that. So sorry, Nola's giving our cameraman, my amazing husband, all the Christmas love right now.
She's wearing like this beautiful plaid collar that matches Kristen's
yes, matching. Nola, come here. Come, baby. Nola, over here. Here's my Nola-Roo. See, we match. This is my Nola. Hi, baby girl. So, but yeah, this particular gym was a gathering of individuals who were nerds, and maybe they like different things that cliche, but it's true. Like, how much are you going to go to a gym when you don't feel like you connect with anybody in there? But if the people that you're working out next to maybe are having the same struggles as you, or you can connect about the most recent Star Wars movie or something like that. Not that Star Wars is nerdy. I don't know. I'm not trying to start an internet debate.
It was nerdy back in my day, but it's still nerdy now. But hey, nerds are cool, so, we go with it. I married a nerd, by the way. I absolutely love him to death.
So, but what a great chapter. My goodness, right?
Yeah.
And so make it attractive. So talking about ways when you recognize a habit to stack it with something that you want.
Yeah.
Right? So a lot of us are probably thinking, okay, how am I going to work out more this next year?
Yeah.
Well, he talks about mindset. Like, you don't say, I have to do this.
Yeah.
I get to.
What is it? I get to...
For working out, he said build strength and
build
endurance.
Strength, and endurance. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I get to do that. And it is. Wordplay has a lot to do with it.
Oh, it totally does. I mean, Jackson and I, my oldest, had the debate, we're talking about, well, this was back in November when we were going through gratitude, and doesn't like waking up at 4:30 in the morning to get the bus, to take to school. But we're also working on wording and mindset.
Yeah.
I get to go to this amazing school for science and technology. I get to not have to worry about a car payment right now because there's a bus that will take me there. Right? It's how you reflect on.
Yeah.
Right. So
in a way, it's it's that, what is it, the glass half full. It actually, like Think and Grow Rich, it's the same thing. Glass half full. You have to determine, or you have the option. That's the great thing about freedom of will, right?
Will. Yeah.
Choice. We're going to have to end this soon. But anyways.
Toast each other unless there were a magical pour that just appeared.
No, it's okay. Right, I'll just chew on the orange.
You eat your cherry too?
I eat the cherry.
Okay. All right. Well, amazing chapter, right? And I'm loving how this is building, right? Making it obvious. What are the habits I have? What do I need to change?
Yeah.
Making it attractive. Understanding that dopamine spike comes more with the anticipation. And then next week, right as people are willing to set in their New Year's resolutions.
What was it?
Right?
It's
well, let's make it obvious, easy and attractive, make it easy. So it'll be awesome. What a great way to ring in the new year, planning for how to make a new habit that you want to formulate easy.
Yeah, it set you up for success. You know, I think New Year's resolutions set up a lot of people for failure. Not failure, lessons. However, what I really like about this book is it does set you up for success, but again, it's all internal. How much you would like to put into it.
Absolutely.
You know? Yeah. I've already taken a few things out of here, and for me, it was impactful. Really, years ago I read it.
This has been an amazing book because I really like how he breaks down the scientific part. You know, it is really easy to get caught up in the emotional decisions that you want to make and mindsets you want to have, but really the science of things that you don't like about yourself, the habits that you don't like that you're stuck in, and then what you don't like about yourself because you wish you accomplished this or did this.
Yeah, and making it the obvious section, which is something we mentioned in the last podcast, is that once it's there, you can't claim ignorance anymore. So it's obvious, it's in your spectrum, so you have a choice.
You have a choice. Yep. All right, friends. Well, happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Yes. Thank you for joining us. I hope you all have an amazing holiday week. Hope this has been an amazing year. Well, cheers and cheers to you guys. Happy holidays. Thanks for joining us.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Bye.
Bye, guys. So next time, Leilani needs free drinks lined up, please. Oh, those cherries are the best. Nola, you're going to be a movie star.